How you doing, everyone? This is Biggs, and today we're going to be doing a music tag that was started by Mega Fred over at MrMegaFredZeppelin's. He tagged Ken over at HMB Barbecue, and Ken tagged me. So here's my list of musicians and guitarists and so forth. Alright, so let me get this started. There were several questions, I don't know, about 6 or 7. So let me start with, what's your kind of favorite music? I like rock, country, R&B, blues, folk, and then you can go into, the rock, psychedelic rock, folk rock, southern rock, rock and roll, blues rock, roots rock, jam bands. And for country, you got traditional country, country rock, blues country, Americana, and outlaw country. R&B, we got Motown, blues, blues rock, country blues, acoustic blues, contemporary blues, and then we got folk, folk rock and acoustic folk. All right? So that covers all my genres of the music that I like to listen to. Alright, second question is favorite guitarist. I got a whole boatload of them right here, and I'm just going to rattle some of them off. So let's start. We got Ry Cooder, Keith Richard, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, B.B. King, Robbie Robertson, Muddy Waters, Pete Townsend, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, Joe Walsh, Duane Allman, Susan Tedeschi, Bonnie Raitt, Stephen Stills, Dave Mason, Roy Buchanan, Scotty Moore, Mike Bloomfield, Jerry Garcia, Mick Taylor, Carl Perkins, Hubert Sumlin, Chuck Berry, Warren Haynes, Jorma Kaukonen, Derek Trucks, George Harrison, Adrian Belew, Dickie Betts, Curtis Mayfield, and a few local bands that are in the area. You know, they tour nationally, but they're smaller. Jim Weeder and Barry Sless. Okay, then we move on to the next question, and we got favorite bassist. Okay, we got John Entwistle, Jack Bruce, Jack Cassidy, Tal Wickenfeld. She's a gal that's out of Australia, and she's been touring with Jeff Beck and a couple other groups. She's a young gal, and she's real good. George Porter Jr., Tony Levin, Willie Weeks, Graham Mabey, Oteil Burbridge, John Paul Jones, Rick Danko, Pete Sears, and Ronnie Lane. And that brings us to our next question. Who are your favorite drummers? Here we go. Keith Moon, John Bonzo Bonham, Ginger Baker, Charlie Watts, Bill Kreutzmann, Jim Keltner, Levon Helm, Cindy Blackman, and another kind of local musician, Gary Burke. Favorite vocalist? I got Mick Jagger. I got Sam Cooke. I got Roger Daltrey, Annie Lennox, Smokey Robinson, Van the Man Morrison, Steve Winwood, Kate Bush, Peter Gabriel, Natalie Merchant, and then we got Levon Helm, Richard Manuel, and Rick Danko of the band. 3 vocalists that are unbelievable. Not a better band with 3 vocalists in it. Not even the Beatles. All right. And let's touch on the next question. Favorite keyboardist? Oh, we got Johnny Johnson, Pinetop Perkins, Nicky Hopkins, Steve Winwood, Billy Preston, Leon Russell, Ian Stewart, the Fifth Stone, Garth Hudson of the band, Greg Allman, and you know, you got Rick Wakeman, Keith Emerson, and then a local favorite of mine, Professor Louie, who was based out of Woodstock, New York. And I was just up there on Wednesday, and they were doing a tribute to Mr. Rick Danko of the band. He would have been, what was it, 74? 73, 74 years old today. Died at the age, I think, of 56. Big loss to the music world. Very charismatic person, and just a presence to be around. The guy walked into a room, you could feel that he was there. All right, so what do we got next? All right, let me do the favorite bands and artists. I got The Band, The Dead, The Brothers Allman, Jefferson Airplane, The Stones, The Who, Led Zepp, The Faces, good rock and roll band, The Beatles, Traffic, Pink Floyd, Mott the Hoople, Leonard Skinner, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and then these are a couple bands that are, you know, out on the circuit, and the David Nelson Band, and Professor Louie and the Chromatics, which is who I saw up in Woodstock the other night. He had his 5-piece band, then he had a violinist there who was actually at the last waltz. And then he had a 4-piece horn section up on stage. It was a fantastic night of music. Besides favorite bands, some favorite artists, solo artists. All right, so here's a few. I got Bob Dylan, Neil Young, J.J. Cale, Bobby Charles, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Muddy Waters, Peter Gabriel, Van Morrison, and Graham Parsons. He's another one that was passed before his time. Okay, then let's go into some favorite studio albums. We got The Band, Music from Big Pink. The Beatles, Abbey Road. Those have to be two of the most musically produced albums that I've ever heard. All right, I'd put The Band up against the Beatles anytime. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, a definite. How many times I put that album on and blasted it so loud. And then you got some Stones, Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers, Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed. The Who, Who's Next, Quadrophenia, and The Who by Numbers. So that's just some of my stuff that I like. I'm sure I left some out. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. This is something my wife made me back in high school, a while back, you could say. And it's the Rolling Stones tongue. All right, she, I don't know what this is, knitted, crocheted, whatever it is, but it's an awesome piece of artwork that she made for me, and I've kept it all these years. It's the only one that's out there, all right? Favorite band of mine. And then back in high school, I had my Levi denim jacket that I cut the sleeves off of. Had some inside pockets stitched into it. And I had a girl embroider this on the back of it for me. And it's the Who from Quadrophenia. Alright. Another favorite band of mine. And then my all-time favorite band is The Band, of course. Just a great group of musicians. Everyone played a big part in what they put out on their albums. And I just never seen 5 more talented musicians in my life. Alright? Each one could play a different instrument and sing. So you had Levon on drums and vocals. He could play bass and mandolin. You had Richard Manuel on piano, who sang, one of the best voices you've ever heard. And he could play drums also. Rick Danko, bass, another great vocalist. He could play fiddle also, possibly even the trombone. Then you had Garth Hudson, who was like the musical leader of the group. They hired him to teach the people in the band how to play music. All right, he was an eccentric keyboardist and just way talented. The guy could play anything. And then you had Robbie Robertson, who was, you know, the main songwriter of the group and a good guitarist. You know, he had like that Curtis Mayfield style, you know, a little twangy type, you know. Nothing that would blow your mind away with, you know, speed or dexterity, but, you know, how to fill in, you know, laying a note here, put a note in there, you know. That's what the band was all about. Alright, so these were one of my favorite groups, and I never did get to see them, but hey, the music lives on. What else we got? One thing about music people don't know about you. I played guitar when I was younger and took lessons, but I never truly pursued it due to other things taking over my life when I was a youngster. Not happy about that. I would have loved to play guitar, but it didn't happen. Wasn't meant to be. And the other thing was, I don't know how this came about, but I went to a Boy George concert way back when, just to please a girl. Anyway, that's it for my music tag. I hope I did this justice. Anybody have any questions or comments, leave them below. Let me know what you think. This is what I like to listen to. You know, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, out there, people who are great. But this is what I listen to mostly, so I did forget to tag some people. I know a lot of people have been tagged, but let me see. I don't know, all I can think of off the top of my head is Jeff at Armadillo Pepper. I like to see JB do one. So if you're tuning in there, JB, let's hear what you got to say. And one more, out of the blue. Who can I pick? I don't know. I'll leave it down in the description if I can think of somebody. All right. Okay, here's some other thing I left out. You know, a big fan of the band and everything like that. And while Levon was still alive, he's the drummer from the band, I used to head up to Woodstock. It's an hour and a half from me here. And I used to go up to his home/barn studio. And he would hold these things called the Midnight Rambles. And he did these for a good amount of years before he passed away. And I tell you, going up to his place, just going up to Woodstock, the vibe is like unbelievable. And this was some of the best music I've ever seen in my life. And one of the shows that stood out for me was he had a bunch of players that played with Muddy Waters up there in his band. Starting off with the steady rolling Bob Margolin, white guitarist who was in The Last Waltz. There was Pinetop Perkins up there on piano. After the show was over, Pinetop got up. He couldn't wait to have a cigarette. And I just happened to be right there and I lit it for him. That was a pretty good highlight. Who else was up there? It's been such a long time. But you had Luther Guitar Johnson and several other players. And that was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. The music that came out of there, unbelievable. All right, I had to stick that in there because, you know, as you're recording this, you always forget something. So I just stuck this little nugget in there for you. So, yeah, Levon Helm, RIP, along with Brother Rick and Brother Richard of the band. And don't forget my other band that I listen to a lot, and they're based out of Woodstock. It's called Professor Louie and the Chromatics. And Louie helped produce the last three bands that the album, Louie helped produce the last few albums that the band put out post Robbie Robertson. And, you know, I've become pretty good friends with Louie, and like I said, he's the show that I went up to go see up in Woodstock, doing the tribute to Rick Danko, his birthday. So check these guys out. They're online, along with the David Nelson Band. They're located out in San Fran, California. And two bands that I see on the circuit a lot that I always go to see when they come around town. All right. So that's it again. This is my music. This is what I like. Take care, all. I keep forgetting stuff. Just want to say thanks to all the subscribers, people who watch my videos and comment, and just want to thank everybody for their support. I'm going to continue doing this YouTube channel for as long as I can, as long as I can come up with some recipes. Everything's been done over and over again, but there's room for interpretation on other recipes. So yeah, and I also just want to say Happy New Year to all, and have a successful 2018. All right.